Welcome to the Yukon North 61. I'm here on a goat hunt, watching a couple of friends of mine stalk a goat. It's quite exciting. They have the tag. I'm just along to learn goat hunting. So my 375 Winchester video seemed to get a lot of views. I think people are interested in that cartridge. A couple of people were really upset, thinking that it's kind of a stunt because it's just a deer cartridge. So what does it take to kill a deer, or with basically a big deer, which is a moose? I think, personally, I've killed a number of them, that moose are fairly dainty. And if you put 2 holes through both lungs, or 1 hole through both lungs, they die. And in the last generation of my uncles and my father and my friends of the family, a moose cartridge that was considered just an absolute stone cold killer was the 303 British. And the 303 British used a 215 grain bullet. Here in Canada, there was a company called CIL. They made the Klingchlor soft point, which was had fingers sort of like an interlock, but probably even better. And these fingers went through the copper and locked the lead in. And the 215 grain bullet, probably out of most guns, was going about 2,100 feet per second. And when you have that low velocity, penetration usually goes up. And it would generally shoot through a moose and kill them. And, you know, they might not die right away, but they often don't. So I had one guy saying you need to use at least a 338 Winchester Magnum with copper bullets. Certainly a good choice, but unless you're shooting at long range, I don't think it's necessary. So I would admit a 375 Winchester doesn't have, past 150 yards. It's probably not your gun, but up to 150 yards with those 220 grain Hornadays, if you can find them. Or they make different companies make different types of bullets now, custom companies. But those 220 grain Hornadays, they're a core lock bullet. They seem to hang together even better than the Barnes soft points, the 250 grains. You can get them up to 2,300 feet per second. So wait a minute. 220 at 2,300 feet per second gets you more energy than 215 at 2,100. So certainly you've got the energy in a 375. You got a little less sectional density, so your penetration might be a little low, but based on my previous experience, I think if you shoot at a moose sideways, you're going to get enough penetration. If you want to shoot a moose in the bum, I guess maybe a 338 Winchester with copper bullets is the way to go, but I don't do that. If the only shot I have is at the rear end of a moose, the moose gets to go, and I look for another moose. So anyway, I'm going to do a little bit of testing with the 375. I think it's surprisingly close to the great 348. And who says the 348? 348 Winchester, a 220 grain bullet at 2,400 feet per second is a pretty good load. So the 375 is only 100 feet per second short of that. It's actually quite a remarkable achievement, I think, to stuff that into a little Winchester 94. And I really like it. I wish they still made it. But I think it's a moose cartridge. There was a big study done in Sweden, and they canvassed all their hunters for years. And they made a nice little table, and it goes from the 6.5 Swede all the way up to the 358 Norma, and how many shots it took, what the range of the animal was, how far they went after being hit. And there was a surprisingly small amount of difference between different cartridges about how far moose go. When you hit them through both lungs, they tend to die. So I'll do a little bit more work on the 375 since there seems to be a fair interest. Please don't take this super seriously. This is just one man's opinion. But I agree with myself. Looks like we got a goat down. I saw the tumble, heard the shot, saw the tumble. Pretty cool. And I didn't have to climb 2,500 feet. Okay, 220 grain Hornadays, 2,250 feet per second with 1580. I had to come down. I used a starting load, and I was getting 2,350 average, which is probably a little hot. Still digested it okay, but let's see how this guy shoots here. Went down 1.5 grains, so I should have lost 100 feet per second. It's in the 30-06 range a kick with this kind of 2,300 feet per second at 220 grain bullets, but it's still pretty nice to shoot. I'm not saying one 3-shot group means everything, but that's pretty good for a lever gun. 1680, 2,300 feet per second, 220 grain, Hornadays, over 2,500 feet per second, or 2,500 foot-pounds, 1,500 foot-pounds to 175 yards. Let's go hunting moose. Used to be a guy called Calvin Rustrom. He used to take a 300 H&H with him, and he was a big outdoors rider and canoeist. And he finally settled on a 3030 Model 94 with little upgraded 180 grain reload somebody did for him at about the same velocity as 170 grain factory. And he loved it. Imagine when I think about the 375 Winchester. 220 grain bullets, 2,300 feet per second, 2,500 foot-pounds or more, 1,500 foot-pounds out to 175 yards. Woo!